I guess my faith journey began when I gave my life to Christ at the age of 12 in summer camp. But my time, over time things did waver. I wasn't really as committed, especially as I got into my mid-teens, and I eventually fell away. But I got a lot more serious when I started college, and I eventually got into a lot of youth ministry, choir, and eventually even enrolled into the College of Biblical Studies. My goal was to become perhaps a missionary in Africa, and in the process of preparing for that, I was planning to go into seminary. Okay, so I met Kara when she was currently a student at the college, and she had injured her leg and her back really bad. And so I took advantage of the time to spend with her I was currently working there, and so I would roll her around from class to class to get to know her and to also spend time with her. And so we became really close friends during that time, and eventually we began to date. I was very involved in ministry at the time when we first started dating. And at that time, I was very serious. I was even being mentored by a number of professors there at the college who were all pastors. And so I was very involved in a lot of different types of ministries with the college, as well as various churches, including my own church. But over time, my faith did start to waver, but I kept that very private, as a lot of people do, I guess. But I began to struggle with some negative experiences I had gone through in the church, as well as personal struggles that I was having. I began to feel that my life wasn't where I thought it should be as a Christian, and I began to doubt a lot of things. Over time, I began to question a lot of the traditions and views of the strand of Christianity that me and Kara had grown up in, basically in our faith. I guess it all came to a head when I finally realized that I wasn't even sure I even believed in God anymore. I didn't even realize that I had become a full-blown agnostic until I was a month from our marriage, from us getting married. I never really told her about what I was really, really, truly going through at that time. She only read it as I was just needing to find a new church home, and I just needed a new church family. And so she never really made that connection that maybe I was having a crisis of faith, because I kept it very, very private. So she was caught off guard when I finally revealed it to her right before we got married. But my wife my fiance at the time, eventually reasoned that I was just going through a dark phase, and that I just been through some things, and that it was something I was going to come out of, and that we were going to pray together and make our way out of it. That phase turned out to be a 12-year phase where I spent the first 12 years of our marriage as an agnostic, or agnostic atheist, wavering back and forth. I kind of just wandered a lot emotionally. I didn't really have any foundation. I spent most of my time pursuing various business ventures and just looking for ways to just satisfy this real deep hole that was inside of me. And nothing could satisfy me. Nothing could make me happy. No matter what I accomplished, I always felt empty after it was over, and I would have to hop to something else. And sometimes those emotions would spill into our marriage. Even though we were very much in love, and that never changed, there were times where I would get into just very deep depression, because I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And it affected my parenting as well. My wife wanted to continue to go to church, and so I didn't want to rock the boat or cause any real issues. I mean, we kept it private from most people that we knew. There were a very small number of people that knew about this. But to make things easier for my wife and my family, I chose to keep it private and continue to go to church. And I never caused any issues or conflicts with her talking to the children about God or anything, but I was never involved in that, in any of that, or teaching them about Jesus or anything like that. I just kept to myself whenever it got to that point, whenever we were talking about that. And so I would come to the Jones Road campus, and I would sit way in the back up top. Didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want anyone to talk with me. I didn't really get connected with anyone or anything. I was looking for a life that, at least a Christian walk that felt meaningful. And I felt that, hey, this is where it's at. But I never bridged the gap by making a deeper connection with people within the church. I've always been a very private person, especially after some negative experiences that I had gone through. And so I kind of kept things at arm's length. Carrie did the very opposite. She got very involved to the point where she was involved in the youth ministry, and she's still very involved in the youth ministry now. But my lack of effort to connect and really kind of allow the church to just pull me in and to really just kind of embrace me, that probably played a big role in why, whatever fruit was starting to root in my life kind of died off eventually. I just wanted to live my own life. I wanted to go my own direction and to see where that would take me. Our relationship was there was a lot of ups and downs in our relationship. I mean, we never got to the point where we were close to divorce, but we did go through some pretty dark times. And I think part of it was because we have very different viewpoints about the world and about people and about life, and we could never really be on the same page. Over time, and it mainly started in about 2018, I began to find myself just very faintly drawn just to the Christian faith again. I found myself just randomly just looking up stuff and just reading things online. And it was a big surprise to me because I thought I would never, ever, ever come back. And I would never be interested. And I was quite proud of that. But I even found myself occasionally praying and just not knowing if God was even there listening. But during certain desperate times, I would reach out and say, look, if you're here and you really do exist, I could really use your help. I could use your help here. I need an answer, and to my own surprise, he would answer my prayers. I mean, things that are not, you can't leave it up to chance. There were times where he just came through, and I would feel completely humbled because part of me believed that it really was him answering my prayers. And every time I thought about it, I didn't know I would get really confused because I didn't know how to address these feelings that were happening inside me. It was like, okay, is God actually real? Because that's not a coincidence. Some of these things were almost borderline miraculous. And so I would continue to try to ignore what was welling up within me. I had been feeling very empty for a long time, and everything I had accomplished felt like a failure to me. I knew I wasn't happy, but I had been convinced that I was going to be able to figure it out. I just needed to work myself out of it. But the only time I would feel at peace is when I was there at church, sitting there listening to the worship, and listening to the message from the pastor. I would find myself crying on the way back home. My wife, who didn't know what to do and was afraid of interrupting and interfering, would just quietly observe, not say anything. So we'd be driving to church and back from church, and I would just be bawling, just on the way to church and back. And there were even times where she would have to take the kids when we would arrive there and just take them on to church so I can clean myself up, so I can actually go in there without looking all messed up in the face. We had one more Sunday where we went to church, and once again, the crying, this has been going on for about a month. The crying, and then me crying on the way back home. But once we finally got back home, we parked in the garage, and I just told the kids, I just need a moment. I told my wife and my kids to leave, to go inside. And so she took them out there, and I finally admitted to the Lord that I wanted control. I had this idea of where I wanted my life to go. I had an idea of who I wanted to become, who I wanted to be. And I was still holding on to that. I knew enough about the Christian faith to know that Jesus never just asks for you just to believe. He asks for you. He asks for your life. So I knew what coming back meant. And that was the real, and I come to the conclusion that was the real true reason that I was resisting. I didn't want to give up that part. I was very excited about the idea of being at peace again, but I knew what that would cost. And so I took that moment in the car to finally just admit that to him and say, okay, Lord, I give up. It's been 12 years and nothing has come of this, and I am a complete wreck. And I will trust you. I will trust you, and I will let go. And I don't know where this is going to take me, and that's what scares me. But I will trust you, and I will go. I'll be whatever you need me to be. My life has been a bit of a whirlwind. I've had multiple people in my life, especially my wife, tell me over and over again that I'm not the same person, and that it's just night and day. The amount of peace that I experience. I tell people this all the time. I used to always obsess over what my 5-year plan is, where I plan to be in 5 years and map things out. I have no idea what my life is going to look like 5 years from now. And this is for the first time I'm okay with it. I've never been okay with something, to be able to say something like that, because I really truly believe that the Lord has me, and that wherever He's going to take me, He has me. I have fought bouts of depression and a sense of inadequacy for so many years, and I never imagined that I would be so okay with who I am now and where I am. One of my favorite passages is Matthew 11:28 through 30, when Jesus, tells the crowd, all who are weary, come to me, all who are heavy laden, take on my yoke, take on my burden, and you will find rest, you will find peace. And that, I really, really believe that. I know the truth of that there is true peace found in Jesus. And I have watched Him transform me even from the outside, and just being amazed, almost as if I'm not even like doing it sometimes. Right, immediately, the very next week after I had gave my life to Christ, Kara asked, hey, will you come with me to the small group sessions on Sunday? So we started immediately on the next Sunday, and I have found some lifelong friends that have accepted me, who want to see me grow, and they don't judge me. They don't care where I've come from. They don't care who I am or who I've been. They just want to see me grow, and they want me to be okay. And I have resisted that for so long, and now I just hate myself for doing it because I realize just how much I was missing out on. One of the main things that I'm definitely looking forward to, which I really missed out on, was learning what it means to be a Christian father, to be a man of God, and to model that to my children. I got a taste of that, with my son, and I hope to continue to grow in that area. because that was one thing that was missing for a long time, is having a Christian father and a Christian husband, is just learning what it means to just to leave my family and to be the godly man that my wife has always deserved and what she's always prayed for. I've also been able to talk to my son about Jesus and watch him be baptized just this last year. And that was an amazing experience for me. And this is something that was completely against my plan. I'm now once again back in full-time ministry, working for the exact same organization that my wife works for. And I feel so at peace with the Lord. It's a completely different experience than what I've experienced for the last 12 years. And by finally letting that happen and getting more involved, I see real change in my life. Which is, I know that, and I knew even before that if I had gone the route that I had gone before by just joining the church and and just kind of keeping at arm's length, that I'd be nowhere near where I'm at right now in my life. But we have found a family here, and I feel that there's a lot. I have a lot further to go. I have a lot that the Lord wants to do in my life and do to me, and do through me. But I feel like this is the best place to be for me right now, all my whole family, and I'm just really glad that we're here.